world is prepared for Sharona, and so to be here to interview her, I'm glad to see this process happen. So let's ask you a few questions.
Oh Lord.
So now you work with leaders
Yeah.
who, by every external measure, are succeeding. Now, when you get underneath the results,
Yeah.
what are you actually seeing that most people miss?
Whew. Okay, so as Latoya mentioned before, I've been working with leaders in across different domains, across different worlds, industries, all of that. I think what I've grown to fall in love with is the leader itself. A lot of times the leaders are building the communities we love, but they're the least protected. I've seen leaders be canceled. I've seen leaders break down physically, emotionally. And so one of the things that I've noticed about high capacity leaders is that they can be succeeding externally, and their breakdown can be internal, and not visible to everybody that's following. And so a lot of times they can even be saying, I'm tired. Ooh, it was a crazy day. I'm going through a season. All of the things, right? And nobody really kind of takes it seriously because they're still getting what they need. They're still succeeding. They're still producing. But internally, the breakdown is happening. And then when it becomes external, everybody's surprised. Right, now everybody want to pray. Or you're not who you said you were. Oh my gosh, what do I do? But it was happening the whole time. And I think that's where I am with my love for leaders, is saying, man, you can be high capacity, but everybody has a capacity, right? Even if it's higher than others, right? When you reach that capacity or you're living maxed out, right? It's kind of like a credit card. You're not gonna have good credit. You can have all the credit in the world, $20,000, $50,000 on the credit card, but if you're living at that 49,000, right? Then if anything happens, you don't have room, you don't have the margin. And so I've learned that a lot of high capacity leaders, the more they keep succeeding, right? The more things get put on them, the more that strain is there, and they can't even complain because it's coming because of success. So you can't say, I got this scholarship to Vanderbilt, but that means I'm gonna have to drive there 3 days a week, and that's an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back, and that's 3 hours. But you complaining about a scholarship. It's like, but you don't know the technical side. And so working with leaders, that's one of the things that my heart is drawn towards right now, is the invisible through line that is happening while everybody is profiting from their high capacity.
That's good. Y'all picking up what she put down. Let me tell you, we were having a conversation, and the conversation was really along the lines of like, someone can make 3 times as much as you, and you still can add value to them. So never think that just because someone makes more money than you, that you don't add value to them. So there are millionaires that could be learning from Sharona. You know, she a millionaire. I mean, you just ain't
Listen now.
Yet, maybe. You know?
But they say reach up and grab it. I'm like, where's that? No.
But I mean, I was able to just see that and experience you actually coach a leader in the capacity of like, decreasing some expenses that they really didn't need to have. You know, I saw it coming, and I was just like, yeah, girl, you gonna really get them together. And I saw the evidence of that just a few weeks ago. So, girl, what she's saying is really true. So, yeah, this question really got to me because, you know, integrity is a big thing for me. But when I saw how it was asked, I was like, I want to know the answer to this. But, you know, you talk about integrity and leadership. You're not talking about honesty and ethics in a traditional sense. What do you mean by integrity, and why does it matter to leaders under pressure?
Whew. Yeah, that's good. So the theory I've been working on is leadership integrity threshold theory, right? And often when we think of integrity, we think of ethics. We think of characteristics, right? Your integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. But, and that's great. I'm not saying that's not good. But the word integrity comes from wholeness. And what we have is a lot of times as leaders, and this is why this was invite only, because I want to have this conversation, because a lot of times as leaders, we can be performing the ethics, right? We can be doing the things, but we're not whole. And if the baseline of integrity is wholeness, if we're so compartmentalized, if we're so fragmented, showing up for everyone else that we don't even know where we are, then are we truly walking in integrity? And for those people of faith, right, that talk about like, oh, I'm giving everything to God. Where's your everything? We don't even know where we are. We're disoriented, parenting, running businesses, being a student, running around doing the things, having vision that is like literally keeping you up at night. Right? And so when we talk about wholeness, and especially for the leader that's been leading for 10, 20 years, right? It's hard to be whole when everything is pulling at you. Yeah. And so what tends to happen, right? We start with this integrated space where we know our mission, we know our vision, and it drives everything we do. It's the reason why we stay up at night, right? It's the reason why we have all these ideas and we're doing it. And we're ourself everywhere we go. It's like, ooh, I know what's driving me. I'm living for this thing, right? And then as you succeed, people actually start asking you for more, which is what you want, right? And then you become compartmentalized. In this place, you're the business person. At home, you show up this way, and it's a great skill. Like, let's be clear about that. Being adaptable is a great skill. You stay there long enough, though, right? You're not adaptable. You're versatile, which means you're showing up as a different person in different spaces. It's not, what does this moment need from me? It's, you've stayed there long enough that the only patience you have is at home, maybe. And so when you need it with somebody who's at work talking about, my auntie or my dog died, dog, you're like, dog, pets. We got to get this deadline done, You have no patience for the dog, right? You have none of that, right? You don't even know where to find it. And so you become compartmentalized, you become fragmented, where you feel that buffer, like, I need that 10 extra minutes before I go in the house. I don't know if anybody loves the driveway now or loves the car. Okay. I used to wonder, my mom's here right there, but mama used to sit in the car and I'm like, hello? Hello, we getting out you. Now, I can sit in the car so much. Casey has texted me at times and be like, baby, you good? It's like, I'm trying to find myself to show up as mom and show up as wife, right? That's a sign of fragmentation because I'm buffering to show up, right? Because work is still, I didn't finish work at work, right? I didn't finish the trauma at the space where the trauma took place. I'm carrying it. And because I am work mode, in this space and patient in this, I don't know how to move over, right? And then I've seen leaders go to that bending place where you're kind of distorted. You stay there long enough, the pressure increases, and internally something's off. Everybody doesn't see it. It's the little things, maybe you double book here or there, but everybody understands all that kind of stuff. But you feel it, like something's moving. And then usually what follows, unfortunately, is that what I call the leak. It's when you fracture a little bit. And everything that was internal becomes external. So when people are extremely disappointed, it's when your picture is shared online. It's when all of a sudden the stories about you are not what you wanted them to be. And you started this for a good reason. And the sacrifices you've made for everybody that's talking about you, right? But there are some compromises you made along the way. And now you're leaking. And the people that you've served may not even want to stand beside you in that space.
Wow. That's good. Speaking of that, you had mentioned about that dog. My husband almost hit my dog. I was like, I was off of your new jacket. I'm so sorry. Well, anyway, I just got distracted by that. But
Pet people are pet people, though. Like, I've had to learn to respect it. Like, you got to send gifts and stuff.
I just became a pet person, so that's a part of my leadership. I'm a dog mom.
Mom is crazy, but
he's growing up. But yeah, so are y'all taking notes? Because y'all keep picking up what she's putting down because she getting lit, and And speaking of lit, can I ask you that right now?
Yeah.
What does lit mean? Because I've been talking about getting lit, and y'all kind of just thought I was talking about what Case was saying, drinking by the riverside.
Riverside, you are so churchy. It's drinking by the lake. You down by the riverside. My God. Drinking by the riverside. Wow. No, that's good.
Anyway. But what does lit mean? Like when I first saw that acronym, I was like, oh, what does it mean? Like lit? Like how do you define it?
Yeah, so that is the acronym for Leadership Integrity Threshold Theory. Kind of those 5 states that I just went through, and this idea that everyone has a capacity right? Limit. And over time, the accumulation a lot of times causes us to drift. And without attention, it's going to happen. Like, you're going to go from integrated, you're all here, your focus is your work, to the point where life happens. I mean, even with age, right? Like, I'm at the age now where, like, my friends' parents are passing away. A lot of them, my parent, my dad is going in and out the hospital. Like, things happen, right? Just an accumulation of life. And so you go through these states where you're integrated, where you're compartmentalized, you're fragmented, you're bending, and now you're leaking. And so LITT, or the Leadership Integrity Threshold Theory, kind of follows that. And the idea is that you need to see where you are. And that everyone, so in the assessment that I've created with this theory, there are 10 domains, whether it's relationships in life, rest and valuation, value coherence, whatever it is, it's saying that there is a place in you that is your first fracture. Meaning that everyone has something that shows a sign. It's kind of like physically, when you stress out. In my 20s, I realized when I stress out, I felt it in my chest. And immediately I knew heart disorder. Like, if I stay here, I'm at risk for something with my heart. I later talked to my mom later on, and she was like, let me tell you something, we healthy until our heart. Right? And so, but I could feel it. If I get too stressed, my chest tightens up. Everybody has it. It could be your knee. People, my knee, my joints, whatever it is. But even as leaders, we all have an area that takes that hit first. Whether it's with our relationships, whether it's with our values, like we stop aligning. And a lot of times we're judging people for where their first fracture is because ours is different. Right? So someone could say, I'll never compromise my values. Right? Because that's the last thing that's going to hit. But your physical health goes down. You stop contacting your friends and your family, right? You stop getting rest, and you're calling it sacrificing for the mission, but that's your first signal that something is going wrong. And if you don't care for that, there are going to be others to follow until you're in a situation where you're breaking. So LITT kind of talks about that. And then there's an assessment to see where you are at a moment. Because in different seasons of life, there could be different things that take a hit.
Well, I feel like every leader needs to take that assessment. So if you got to go, tell them you can't get here right now because you're trying to become a great leader.
You are silly.
But like the question, like what you were saying, when something starts to go off in a leader's life or leadership, where does it usually show up first, and why does it tend to show up there before anywhere else?
Yeah, everybody's different, right? And then different seasons are different, right? I think for the clients I've worked with that are older, like approaching maybe retirement age, 10 years out, I think they start focusing on their physical health more than some of my younger clients, right? So usually that doesn't take the same hit as it did when they were like 25. Right? But different seasons, we start taking hits in different areas. And it's important to know where your first fracture is, because a lot of times we don't really care until it's the third or fourth. And then we're like, oh, something wrong. I got to get it together now. It's like, no. If you knew it back then, we wouldn't be just trying to fix everything right now. Right? You might have already lost some relationships. You might have already had too many apologies. Right? It's not, we want to apologize. You're going to be wrong because we're human. But like when you start tipping that scale a little bit, and you're like, well, I said sorry. But now you can't even see when you should be sorry. Right? So everyone has a different first fracture point, where I call it. And then the idea is that you could pay attention to that first, because that's usually the one that we're willing to sacrifice for the season. What happens though, and I'm talking to myself right now, right? Let's be clear. Like when you first start and, things get busy, you're really excited about it. Like, oh, work is doing well. I got to finish this because this contract is coming through, this proposal, right? And so you talk to people and say, I'm going through a busy season, right? And then I'm going to rest after that. What I've seen is the flip, where rest becomes a special season and your baseline becomes chaos. Your baseline becomes the busyness. And if you're not careful, you'll treat rest as a reward, right? You'll treat family time as a reward. You'll treat your physical health as a, once I do this, then I'm going to go to the gym. It's like, what is going on here? right? And so, looking at that to say, is it truly that you're in a season? You're compartmentalized temporarily for what's the demand that's ahead of you. But when you get there and you're at the end of the season, and then everyone says at the end of it, so what's next? Oh, if you could just bring that, are you going to stop or are you going to start a new season? Because if so, it's not a season anymore, it's your lifestyle. Yeah.
I shouldn't do too much. We asked her, because she and then I ain't got no notes. I should have been recording.
You know what?
She do too much of this, so then I got to go ask her, what you mean when you said that?
Ask, yeah.
But I picked up what you put down because I'm in my season of rest. Because, anyway, I'll talk about that later. But what does it actually look like for leaders, whether they're in the middle of high performance or approaching transition?
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yes, because there are two types of leaders that I tend to deal with. There's one that's at the height. You can almost feel it. Now, I joked with Kason the other week. I said, man, I know the name of my company, but it's really Hope LLC. I feel like I'm always hoping. I hope this comes through. I hope that people actually can pay the bill that they say they're going to pay. I hope this, sometimes you're living in that season, you're producing, right? You're doing the work, you're staying up, and that's where kind of your compromise comes in. You have to draw the line there, right? And so there are those. For them, you're just not trying to break. Right? You're like, I just don't want to break down as I'm building and scaling, because you need to scale and you want to scale. The other side, though, that's been very interesting is the group that's ready to shift. So one that's probably been successful in work, been successful in life, and now you're probably 5-10 years out from retirement, but you don't know who you'll be once you stop working. And the structure you've built around work and around life has been so intertwined that the thought of taking that apart leaves you unstable. And it's a real place. Let's be clear. When you've been working and you've been building a thing, you could even have the person that you're ready to pass the baton to. But what do you do with that free hand? Some people have been working since they're 15, and now you're 55, 45, 65. And you're like, well, what do I do with the other hand? And you might have even seen colleagues that took the rest, took the break, and then their bodies start breaking down, and then all the health issues show up, and then you're like, I'm not about to do that. Because I know this life, right? And I know how to keep busy. And then what do I do? What does legacy look like? Where does my worth come from? And so a part of the work then, biblically we talk about not putting new wine in old wineskins, right? Is how do we create the new wineskin so that when you shift, you're not breaking? And those are two different spaces to be in. But what will you be doing? What will health look like? What will fracture first, possibly, in this transition? And how can we help you to be healthy in that next phase of life?
If you're feeling lit, say lit. I don't know if you're feeling lit because I whisper. If you're feeling lit, say lit. Okay, we getting there. We getting on something, I'm picking up what you're putting down, putting it in my back pocket. It's in my back pocket. So, now, once a leader recognizes where strain is showing up in their life or leadership, what do they actually do next to address it in a way that lasts? See, that was my question.
Yeah. I think the first part is seeing, and that can be tough, right? Because a part of you, I feel like most leaders know, but they don't want to see it. You're like, yeah, I know that's, I know my physical health, but you don't realize that it's affecting your marriage, or you don't realize it's affecting your parenting, right? You might not realize that you're really compromising your values now. It's not that you've evolved, it's that you've changed, right? And so the first step, of course, is to see it, but now what, right? And then you have to stabilize, I think, that first fracture point. Like, what do we need to do? And it's tough. I call it a leak because my husband's an engineer. But he talked about one time, I think there was a leak in something, a gas leak. And he was like, man, those are the hardest to find. One, you got to find the leak. And then you kind of have a couple of options, right? You realize that this pressure has caused this leak, which all of us are sustaining a certain amount of pressure. And so you can patch it. And once you patch it, you just kind of got to keep an eye on it and make sure that pressure doesn't exceed what it can hold. And then your other option is to create something that can hold that pressure. Both of them are difficult. And I think as a young leader, I'm like, you wrong, just change it. You kind of come in and like, your values are off, stop it. Stop your business. And you're like, yeah, it's 30 people that work for me. And if I take a pause for the next 6 months, these families and these kids that have come in, all of this is taekwondo that this kid wants to do doesn't happen, right? And so I think a part of the work is deciding which path you're going to take, but knowing you need to take one. And saying that you might not be at the point where your scale, this is it. And that's good. Let's optimize this level of pressure. And then maybe, capacity might grow. And if it does, we'll address that. Or the other thing is, if you're fortunate enough, is to stop, is to press pause and to build something structurally, internally and in your business or with systems that helps to carry you to the place of scale that you want to go.
I like that you said that because you do so many things, right? Her first, and y'all went to the event, it was amazing. Then our other, there's so many different names. And then she come up with names that you can't remember because she just made it up. But it was just like Jonathan McReynolds was there. If you came to the event, she's so creative in the way that she does things and makes people think outside of the box. So when you think about all the things that you're creating, like how do you compartmentalize that and stay sane?
Yeah, sometimes I'm crazy. Like that's what's real. Like insane, right? I was pregnant starting her first. We had an album release. I was producing an album. Shanika, one of the producers at Tennessee Valley Living, interviewed me, belly just big. She was sideways, messed up my camera view, right? Like we're preparing for an album release. I'm writing songs, we're producing, and I'm in my first trimester of pregnancy. I didn't realize I was crazy till afterwards, and I started sharing stories. Me and Casey were talking. I was like, I did that? That's insane. Like I went and told your barber not to mess up your hair no more because if the baby come out and your hairline is wrong, we about to fight. Like I'm crying in the barber shop. That's crazy. So sometimes I'm insane, but I think what keeps me is community. That's one of the things, like being open to people giving voice and giving access and asking questions, right, that I may not even want to answer. And then trusting them enough with their assessment. Because I know my intentions, right? They know my effects, right? So I can be like, but I intended, that's not me. Yeah, but this is who you are now. This is how you're coming off. Your intentions have turned into a pattern of behavior that is not okay. So I think community has helped me. And then getting to the point where like you just don't want to hustle anymore, right? Like I think multi-talented, multi-spectrum people, right? We want to use all of our gifts, right? We don't want to waste anything. But I think the idea is to work enough that you figure out what that common thread is. If you have a coach, great, that can walk you through that, that's amazing. But then you actually have to listen to them. Because you could you can't limit me. This was me. Like, you don't know what I can do. And you can't tell me the statistic. And I still am like this. Like 99.1% does not mean 100. Yeah. I still believe that. But I have to have on ramps and off ramps that say, when we get here, it's time to let it go. Right? And so I think a part of the business structure is planning it out to say this success looks like this in this amount of time and this way. And if it happens, we'll move forward. And if it doesn't, I'm okay with letting go. Mm-hmm. And so I've done that a few times until figuring out like, okay, this is kind of where I want to sit. And then some of it is just choosing. Could you do a million things? Great, but just choose one.
That's good. Listen, because when you said that part, like, you've been disobedient to your coach and stuff. When you said something to me that day, like, I walked the house, and she talking about, I gotta define it. Anyway, I talked about but I got one final question that I feel like the room would definitely want you to answer, but what happens if leaders don't address these early signs of strain, even if their performance still looks strong on the outside?
Yeah, the drift. Mm-hmm. A lot of the leaders that we've seen and we've judged, I'm like, how could you do that? How could you, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a process. I've been around leaders that I've served that have been in the spiritual world. They have like completely fallen astray. Like, you preach this, but you live this, at work, that, and I don't think it's intentional for any of them. I think they always have reasons for how it happened, right? So if you don't address the drift early, then by the time you recognize it, it's almost hard to build community where you can be honest and you can say this is what it is, and or orient yourself, because you might not know how you've gotten here, and you're thinking just okay, in a couple of months I'm gonna get it together, in a couple of months I'm gonna get my body together, in a couple of months I'm gonna go on this big vacation with the family, and that's gonna settle all the days that I haven't been here, right? And we start living in these spurts thinking that it's okay. And so if we don't address it, strain, it distributes, it spreads. So you'll start at that first fracture point, which might be physical, it might be emotional, it might be values, and then it's going to go other places. And I think that's the trick that we play on ourselves as leaders, is that I'm going to be okay. I'm not that. I would never do what they did, right? But when people don't know you, and leadership can be lonely, and you allow it to be, right? Because it's not just that it's lonely. It's lonely at the top. Well, sometimes it's lonely at the top because you let everybody go. You didn't bring them along, right? And sometimes it's lonely because the people, okay? But a lot of times if you just pace yourself a little more, you wouldn't have let go of that person. You would have made a phone call even when it was a busy season. You would have remembered, you would have taken the flight to see the friend, all of that. So it doesn't have to be lonely there. But if you don't address that area of strain, it's going to spread. It's going to hurt.
If this was lit, say lit. I'm gonna learn how to sing one day. If I get around too many
I promise.
they be doing too much. So I just want to ask the audience, see if anyone has any questions. Do a little Q&A. Maybe I'll take 2-3 questions. Maybe I'll see, depending on Sharona's frown on her face, and see. But does anybody have any questions? Any questions for her? Okay, we'll start with you. Come on. Introduce yourself and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Shanika. I work at WFF48. Hello.
She's the best.
So my question is, what was, the process of thinking of LITT and then making it, come to fruition? What work and what, time frame went into okay, this is a thought I have, I like it, I'm invested in it, and now to here, we're talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Realizing my patterns, right? There have been a lot of times, if you know me for real, right? I feel like a part of my ADHD is that sometimes I'm hyper fixated on where the gap is. It's like, hey, you saying that you want to do this, but you're doing this. That's what LaToya was talking about, right? And then realizing that a lot of people I cared for have hurt me. And I know that's crazy, but I know their hearts, right? And so I think at this age saying, I can see that you don't want to be this type of person. I can see in myself that sometimes I don't want to be this type of person, and yet you are. And I really want to sit with what gets us there. What gets us, and for some reason, right? If you also know me, I just want to know what you talk about. I could agree or not agree, right? I just want you to tell me what it is. And so in situations where it's people have shared their process and their stories with me, I've seen the pain of I don't know how to stop. I get what you're saying, but how do I stop? How do I backtrack? And so, over the years, I think I've been watching that, how do leaders get there? And so taking some time, I think, even this year to say, I really want to be serious about this. And some things, Dexter Strong is in the building, and we work together for quite some time. And he's just a good friend, uncle to my kids, all the things. And he told me one time I would come into a place and I just call it all out. We could leave and I'd be like, this person doing this going on, blah, blah, blah. He'd be like, how do you know that? I'm like, I just know. And after a while, he said, this is an intuition. You're putting some pieces together and it's so quick that you think it's just Holy Ghost, and it is, God's good. But also there's a process to how you're doing this. Because after a year or two, I'd be like, in a year this is going to happen, in a year this is about to happen with this person. And then it's okay, all right, now we need to figure this out. So I wanted to help people help themselves, right? And sometimes it's hard to hear someone else call you out. But on the assessment side, if you're taking it, you're answering the questions, and this is what it says, right? Then you have to sit with it. And I wanted to provide a means to say, okay, now that we're sitting with this, what can we do? Because it's not, I don't want you to feel judged. I don't want people to feel judged, right? This is just kind of what happens. But I do want people to feel safe enough to heal before their leak or their break ends up hurting other people around them, right? And so I'm tired of seeing people, leaders, feel the pain of their own actions on people they actually care about, right? So so I went through a lot of research. A lot of my work at Vanderbilt is going to be centered around religion, ethics, technology, but for the sake of community. Because my idea is, okay, in a world where in 50 years we'll probably have AI companions and people can build the husband that they've been praying for. All right. And I have a mentor of mine that's in prosthetics, and the prosthetics are getting good, okay? And in the world, take that how you want to, in a world where 50 years from now, someone can get a $150,000 loan to build a person that listens to them, that can see when their eyes dilate and serve them and knows the algorithm of their life, why would they choose humanity? Especially in a church where we say we're born in sin, shaped in iniquity. Why am I choose you? At least this is neutral, or I can reprogram it. Right? So what's going to be worth the risk? And I think that's going to start with us leaders being healthy and whole enough to create communities that are worth the risk of people being a part of, even when they can program something that feels better, even if it's not real. Because we crave convenience. Y'all see these AI flyers? If you have one, God bless you. But this black and gold alpha thing that y'all doing right now, I want you to let it go. But anyway, but the idea is, Tiffany laughing at me, the idea is that we actually crave convenience, right? Even if we know flyers could be better, or this could be better, or food could be better for us, we'll choose convenience and sacrifice quality, right? Yeah, we'll chat GPT everything, as long as it got the right information. But how much of that are we willing to sacrifice until humanity becomes an option, right? Until, like, I've heard a pastor ask for forgiveness 20 times. You know, I'm just human, I'm just a man, I'm just a woman, okay, well, let's get an android. Like, that's a real thing, because we know what y'all do. Right? So let's get the Android and see what it says, and then after it messes up, we'll reprogram it and do another version 7. Right? So I think, I know it's a long answer, but that's part of the work.
What's the answer?
That's why I'm going to yell at y'all.
I will. Anyway, any other questions for the audience? For the audience, any other questions? Oh, here you go. Here you go. Introduce yourself and your question.
Hello everyone, I'm Michelle Fowler. Trying to figure out how to frame it. For a leader that has already started to fracture, maybe they have 4 or 5 already going on.
Yeah.
Where would you say somebody starts with healing that fracture? Does that, or healing from multiple fractures maybe, does that start with wherever their first fracture started? Like, is that tailored to each leader, or how would you approach someone's healing journey?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, right? Because I had someone take the assessment in building it, right? And they had multiple places. So we don't know where the first was, right? We can ask them. That's where kind of the coaching comes in and kind of that figuring things out. But I think the first thing that I want people to feel is that everyone has it, right? You might have been going so long under sustained pressure that you're at 5, and your capacity is so high that everyone lets you be at 5 because you're still giving them more than other people at their highest, right? And so I think the first thing is making a safe space for that. You can come and be like, I'm completely leaking. People, you could be having something on the side, you could be doing this, you could be doing something wrong, but you have to have a safe space to say, this is where I really am. And to know that, I'm not saying all of that is okay, but that's just where you are. And it's better, integrity, when we reframe it as wholeness, has to start with you bringing your whole self, right? And so if you frame it as ethics and you frame it as character, not saying that's bad, but some people show up fragmented because, look here, I'm doing this. Look here, 1,000 people showed up here. Look here. So that's proof that I'm integral. No, you're broken. Right? And so I think sitting and just in a space where you can be integral, and that means whole with your broken pieces, is the first step, right? And then saying, okay, I do find that a lot of people, once they can get through that piece, like, we can work through it together. But you've been hiding it so long and shoving it down so low, like, people don't know, but I got a honey bun under my pillow. Under your pillow. Now, if you know me, I'm gonna be like, under your pillow is crazy. But also, what kind of honey bun? Is it the frosted kind? Because I need to know at what brand. Because if you at honey bun under pillow level, you probably know all the best honey buns. So let's, right, and that's me for real. I'm gonna be like, what's the best honey bun? Also, let's get it from under your pillow. Let's move it to the end table, and then let's move it to, let's get the honey bun from under the pillow. Like, you're not gonna protect nobody. Somebody come in the house and you throwing honey buns. It's crazy. Sorry, that's a picture in my head. But, the first part is to see it as a part of, like, what it is, right? You're not better because you're doing better. You're not better than anybody else. You're not worse than anybody else, right? If I'm taking it on the Christian side, right? Like, while we were yet sinners, he died for us. We got the best gift at our worst.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, there's nothing I can do to deserve more. There's nothing, I could do to deserve less. You gave your best at my worst, right? And so I think a part of that is really wrestling with that acceptance and redefining integrity, so that then we can say, all right, where do we start? And start with small steps, small rewards. And I have like practices and things that I do with people, but actually celebrating those small things. I had a student who would fight all the time. She was a fighter in Chicago. So they know I called her the enforcer. I mean, she throw chairs. I mean, trash cans at like, she would go down, like, and so I was like, okay, let's try to get you from fighting every day to like 3 times a week. And then from 3 times a week, I just want you to cuss people out. Can you just cuss them out? Like, and as crazy as that seems, that was progress for her, right? Until it gets to the point where it's like, she's not doing that either, right? And sometimes we want to take that big leap, and that's fake, and now we're performing. So taking those small steps of move the honey bun to the nightstand. You know what I'm saying? Buy a different, buy a sugar-free honey bun. I don't know if they exist. But whatever, you know what I mean? And it's celebrating those so you're not living in shame.
That's good, huh? She also gonna be in Liberty Live talking.
You know what? Listen, I almost messed myself up. Because I just saw somebody throwing honey buns at somebody invading the house,
The good thing is that she can talk about stuff seriously and y'all be want to talk about still that teach you something. Maybe teach you something that's like just the theory is, and it ain't never have no smile or nothing. Like,
that's balance.
I'm sorry. One more question from the audience.
Right here. Tiffany Draper, Women's Expo, curly hair, wavy, number, what is it? No? Okay, never mind. She looking at me crazy. Let me be quiet.
Please introduce yourself and your question.
Now I'm triggered. I'm introverted at the time. I can't believe you just called me out like that. I wanted to sit here in the corner.
You're on every flyer for the Women's Expo. You had a pink dress on this year, a green dress on the year before. What are you talking about? I called you out?
They got billboards. What are you talking about?
You're on a billboard. I'm sorry. Go ahead, introvert.
Oh, this is hard. So, as a leader, a lot of times, and I'm being super transparent, I don't want to be a leader.
Yeah.
Ask for this. And honestly, this is probably more of a statement, but I do have a question. But I did not ask for this, simply it was just, hey, I thought about bringing women together, or brought them together. Someone saw me 8 months later in Walmart, was like, you gonna do that thing you did for women again? I was like, no.
Absolutely.
And then I just felt a nudge, a tug, or maybe it was God, I'm sure, himself was like, yeah, you should. And I was like,
Yeah.
so it was really more for me than everybody else.
Yeah.
But because I knew that other women needed to experience some type of community, it was important for me to do it, right? Because
Yeah.
my obedience is what got me here, right? In this capacity though, I find myself not wanting to be seen.
Mhm.
I purposely do not get dressed.
Mhm.
On purpose. I am comfortable with sweatpants and a t-shirt on. Kenny, I come to the bank looking really thrown away, and he knows it. I come to the bank, make a deposit, I look like I'm about to rob the place. I don't want to be seen because being in this capacity is very, very hard. You have to talk, you have it's very
Yeah.
draining. So my question and asking, because I'm sure that this is part of, I think I'm more than leaking. I am the water. I mean, the drain. Is the main is broken.
Yeah.
This water just is a well.
Yeah.
Things are happening. And I'm pretty sure that this event was for me. I'm not sure why you invited me. But I kind of put it together now. But I would just like to not be seen. And I guess that is a part of the leakage that you spoke of. You know, how do you fix it? I don't even know if there is a way to fix it because I'd like to just not be seen.
Mm.
And I'm very introverted. Shout out to all the introverts. You know who you are.
Probably half of this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, when I run into people, I feel like I have to be on.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on. I'm always on. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, it's so good to see you. Who's that baby? Oh my God. And I'm in the car like, who is that? I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I don't know their names, but because I don't want people to feel like people have made me feel like I'm just a person. I have to continue to show up as, I don't want to be a letdown or a disappointment. So where I am in my life is, I don't want to be seen, and I'm pretty sure I just answered all of my questions, but
No.
how do I proceed in this capacity as a leader who doesn't want to be a leader?
Yeah. That's real.
You got there.
Yeah.
How do I get a leader?
Again, integrity, that wholeness. Just because you don't want to be doesn't mean you aren't. Right? Like, that is tough. And I'm saying that for someone like me. And I'm actually an introvert. Every test I've taken, people are, oh, surprised. Always. Right? I prefer having a mic in front of a few people because I feel like I'm distant. But you see me at a networking event, LaToya has seen me, I'm going, I think Kanik has seen it. They're like, fix your face. I don't know what to say to them because I go too deep too quickly. It's like, oh, how's the weather? I'm like, so in the top 5% of the world, how happy do you think you are? Like, why did I ask them about their happiness? Like, just say hello. What do you do for a living? I don't. It's really weird. But I think accepting that you have impact is the first step. Because sometimes we're irresponsible with the impact and the effect that we have because we don't want it. Right? And so if we don't want to be the type of leader that hurts other people, we have to accept the fact that other people are connected to us. That's not easy. Right? And, I think to your point, you've accepted, like, okay, I'm going to do the thing. But then, like, now what? Because I really don't want to talk. I really don't want to do these things. I think creating your community is very important. Getting people to walk through things with you. Again, I know this seems like the same answer every time, but it's because it is, right? There's so many people in this room I could go through that I text or call about different things, getting their feedback, and it helps me. I also think of humility as not thinking of yourself less than, but thinking of yourself appropriately. Like, it's not humble if I fall out right now and I'm on the floor. There's somebody that's a doctor in the room, medical doctor in the room, would just sit back when nobody asks me. I just want to be humble and take my place until if you don't get up and be the medical doctor that you are, like, hey, I'm a doctor, and everybody moves out the way. Right? That's humility. Know who you are in that space. But in another space, Casey could be singing, Mill could be singing, and you don't tell him how to hit the note. you get the medicine, you know, whatever. And so I think that's a part of it, the humility of saying this is who I am. And then taking the steps through community, through coaching, through whatever, to have those small wins. And I think creating spaces where people are honest enough to know when you need to get off.
Yeah.
Right? Fear keeps us. People don't talk about how much fear leaders live in. Like, we don't talk about the fear of losing the job, the fear of losing the position, the fear of what do your kids do. Like, you might want to quit your job. That's great, but you got 3 kids. What am I about to do? Right? So I think having people that you could process that with, and then making a plan. What I've found, at least with my clients, is when you make a plan. I was just talking to one of them, and I'm like, listen, this is the 5-year plan. And she was like, oh, I can see my way out. Like, but I knew I want to get out, but now I can see it. And that's helpful for me to live another day. I'm not talking about be a leader another day. I'm talking about literally living another day. Because I think leaders live with this like third eye, almost, where there's a quote that life is a tragedy for those who feel and a comedy for those who think. And so we're always in between tragedy and laughter. It's like, oh, life sucks, I'm leaking and the water's everywhere. And it's like, well, let's swim. Right? Like, we're always in between that. I'm just swimming in my own leakage. And nobody's pouring into me. Right? Like, so you're in between that space, which I think is a part of it, but having the community, having the coaching to do the work, to at least see where you're improving helps. And then for some of us, we're at the point where we need to start making a real plan to create that new wineskin for the new wine that's coming, and know that we're not going to break down.
That's good. Round of applause. I mean, you said that you do, y'all say that's realizing like I'm great at X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
People was playing their drum voice, but I may not be so great at singing. Ooh, you know,
You want to be.
You know, but I accept it.
Do you?
I do.
No. LaToya wants to sing for a Disney movie. Like, that's one of her dreams.
I mean, speaking like cartoon characters, I think I could like sing and technology.
So we're on the AI, you might be able to do it.
But the president's been an interesting conversation. The president lit.
The people are like, I'm leaking, I'm broken, I'm bending. I do not want to clap.
So I just want you guys to take this moment to give her a round of applause for this.